Why are there tax classes in Germany and what do you have to know about them? Let's talk about the so-called tax classes, also known as Steuerklassen. We want to talk about this topic because it's very important for you to know why are they there and why do you have to know them. First of all, what are the tax classes, so-called Steuerklassen? Tax classes normally regulate how much wage tax, so-called Lohnsteuer, is withheld from your monthly salary. That means every month you get your salary and then there's a deduction, so-called withheld, of the so-called wage tax. The system is divided in 6 classes. Each one of them is designed for a specific life and work situation. So, for example, we have a single person. There's another situation for married couples, but later on this. Your tax class is assigned based on your marital status and depends and job status. Also, it's important if it's your first job or your second job. Tax classes do not affect how much tax you owe at the end of the year. That's very important because this is the other thing we talked about, the progressive tax system in Germany. So this is is the thing that there you have to show how much do you earn and how much is the tax rate, and it depends on the situation in your income situation. You can change your tax class in certain situations. If you say, okay, if you get married, if you get divorced, then this changes. For example, let's go into the tax classes in Germany from 1 to 6. For example, the tax class 1 is single, divorced, or widowed without children. It's also the default setting for expats. Tax class 2, single parents entitled to additional tax relief, for example, for 1 or more children. Tax class 3, married, one spouse earns specifically more, means the one who is earning more is in tax class 3, the other one is in tax class 5. In this part, the tax class 5 is used for the one who is the lower income, but with higher withholding. If you say, we're equal in the income stages, then you go into tax class 4. This is where married couples with similar incomes are with neutral tax treatment. For example, you're in tax class 4 if both partners of a marriage are in the same income status. Then the tax class 6 is the so-called secondary income class, because there it is if you have one job like tax class 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and you have another job, then the second job is in tax class 6. So the question is how your tax class affects your monthly salary. It determines how much tax is automatically withheld from your gross income. That means it's not a real impact on your brutto salary, as it's called. It also impacts only your net salary. So it means you get a lower net or a higher net if you have some of the so-called tax deductions or anything else. For example, if you're in tax class 3 to 5, then you have in the so-called tax class 3, you have lower deductions with increasing take-home pay. But on the other side, in tax class 5, you have a higher deduction of taxes. That means there you are in the end of the year, you have to do a tax return. Then you have, in this case, you have to pay taxes because you normally have less paid upfront to the offices, to the authorities. And the next thing is, it depends on your common situation. Example for foreign workers and something like this. Most singles are expats and assigned to tax class 1. This is normal status, for example, like if you're moving to Germany. If you're like a single parent, then tax class 2, or married couples 3, 5, or 4, 4. If you have another job, then the tax class 6 is important for you also. Well, it's very important if you see, okay, I'm in a wrong tax class, then you have to tell this your employer, because the employer is already doing your salary reports. And so if there's an error, you have to tell him, then he can do it better in the future, because at the end you have also to do the most, or can do a tax return and get the wrong taxes back who have been paid to the authorities. So how and when to change your tax classes is also important. It's the easiest way is to go to your so-called Finanzamt, local tax office. There you can do the Antrag auf Steuerklassenwechsel. This is important. You can do it if your personal situation changes. Normally you can change it once per year. For example, marriage, birth, job change, or something like this. Married couples have also the option for the so-called factor method, Faktorverfahren, to balance the incomes on 4-4. You should use tax tools or anything else like a tax advisor, like we are a Steuerberater, so you can do another tax return and get more money back than you paid upfront to the authorities for your local tax office. For example, don't forget your Steuerklasse, your wage tax is in this case the thing you get less if you're in the wrong tax class. So it's important to check this up front, and then there should not be any problems with your employer. So if you have another question for taxation in Germany, then go to the comments below. We're looking forward to.